Welcome to the healthcare.ai machine learning broadcast. I'm your host, Mike Mastanduno. Levi is out again. Thanks, Levi. But no problem. Also, just want to extend a quick congratulations to Taylor Miller, who just had a new baby girl. So let's get started. You can log into YouTube to do the chat, and we'd love to have your participation. We'd love to see you. I'll do my best to respond to questions. I have the wonderful Taylor Larson on the phone with me here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad you could make it from Denver. Please subscribe to the Slack channel and the broadcast. Join this machine learning community we're trying to create. And we're really excited to have you participating today. So with that, just a couple other reminders. We want to let you know that we have a machine learning specific session going on at HAS 2017, which is a 2-day Health Catalyst University conference. And so if you're interested in machine learning or learning more, please reach out about HAS. We'd love to have you join in person there. Finally, we'll be doing some polls this week, and you can get the get that survey loaded up right away with go to pollev.com/healthcare.ai, and we'll be able to interact with you that way as well. So I think that's all the housekeeping, Taylor. What do you have for us in the news this week?
Yeah, well, a couple of things in the news. First off, as you see, our new video chat this week is powered by Slack. Slack has just added the feature for video conferencing. You can, of course, do screen sharing. Now you can do video conferencing. Our team has really been leveraging that this whole last week or two, which has been really fun.
Yeah, I'm really glad we have Slack now. It's so many less buttons than WebEx and Skype and other video chat.
Yeah, and just kind of already integrated into our current workflow. So exciting there. That's one piece in the news that's at least helping our machine learning team. Also in the news was that Google has been partnering on machine learning in healthcare. So early on, Google was primarily using some really sophisticated methods to do some deep research into specific healthcare problems. And now they're kind of coming back up to the surface a bit more our direction towards applying machine learning to solve more common and important healthcare problems. So they've been partnering with UC San Francisco, Stanford Medicine, and University of Chicago Medicine to predict hospital-acquired infections, length of stay, and other chronic diseases. And so I thought that the article was really interesting, touched on some important facts around, how much opportunity there really is out there, and how collaboration is an absolute key, both with the clinicians you're working with, integrating into the workflow, and coming up with the best ways to solve certain problems. They also in the article mentioned how complex healthcare data is to work with, and how integrating into existing workflows provides some other challenges as well. And so all of those things are consistent with what we're doing and what we're experiencing as far as challenges. And so I just thought it was interesting that a giant like Google is kind of having some of our same challenges, but also facing some of the same opportunities and helping tackle some of these really important problems.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I saw that the data is going to be de-identified. Do you know if it's going to be made publicly available?
I don't know that. I did know they just wanted to really emphasize that on their partnerships, they were being really careful with the data. I don't know if they'll make it publicly available, but I think that was just another one of those concerns that they have to address when working with real people's data and offering solutions that affect real people.
Cool, great, thanks, Taylor.
Yeah, thank you.
So one other thing before we get on to our main event, which is kind of a day in the life and talking about how our team functions and kind of what the day-to-day of our jobs are, we wanted to address the little homework assignment we gave out. A couple weeks ago, we had a poll that people were really interested in doing homeworks, and we published one through the Slack channel, which, if you're not a member of, please join. You can get there from healthcare.ai /Slack, but it's right there on the main page. And so we published a homework assignment about imputation, and specifically how to use healthcare.ai to do imputation on either a vector, so a single column, or a data frame. And I just wanted to, we put that out, I think, Tuesday. or a Wednesday of last week, right before the broadcast, and didn't really get a chance to discuss it. So I wanted to make sure that, we kind of demonstrated that functionality, because after all, this is supposed to be a hands-on machine learning broadcast. So let's head over to R, and I'll show you guys, what my take on that question was. So, starting it out in R Studio, and if the text appears to be too small, actually, let me make it a little bigger. You can load your YouTube resolution with the little bit with the gear in the lower right corner, and that'll set your resolution a little higher. So maybe make it a little easier to read, although that's pretty big. So we can start by just typing impute column to get the documentation for the function up. And so, it says this class performs imputation on a vector. For numeric vectors, the vector mean is used. For factor, the most frequent value is used. So that means if you've got a continuous feature, it's going to take the mean. If you have a bunch of different individual classes, it'll use the mode. And so, if we scroll down to the example, we can see exactly what we're trying to do, how to do it on a numeric vector, how to do it on a factor vector, and then how to use it on a data frame. So I'll just grab this data frame here so that we can do that. And so if we do df, that's what's in our data frame. We have two columns, A and B. One of them has numeric values and an NA value. One of them has categorical variables, Y's and N's, and an NA. So to actually do that on a vector, we would say like result is equal to impute column of df, and I'm going to subset this df with that $sign and take a column. Hit enter and result. Now we see that column A has been filled in with the mean, which is 2. And so if we were to do that same thing with a B, and then view result, we're going to get a Y, which is the most common. So then if we wanted to apply it to the whole data frame, that's right here how you would do that. You can use this function called lapply, operating on the data frame and impute column, and that basically just says execute impute column on every column of the data frame and save it back to the same name. So if we run that little bit of code there, hopefully we'll see that. And indeed we do. So with that, I hope you had a chance to go over to pollev.com. We'd love to kind of get your feedback on the homework assignment and, see if you were interested in doing it and kind of what the difficulty level was there. So I'm going to push that poll out right now. It is live. We'd love to get your feedback, and, we can go there. So while the answers are coming in on that, Taylor, do you want to start us off on the day in the life?
Yeah, some of the things that we were kind of hoping to cover on the day in the life were just kind of background about our team, some of our skills, and discuss some of the work we do on a regular basis and the tools we use to do those and how we divide up the work. So we can dive right into kind of some of the team members' backgrounds, including our own. And so you want me to start off, Mike?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so so I'm a data science engineer, slightly different than a data scientist, and we'll dive into that as we kind of get into the skills. But my background is actually in economics, a master's degree in economics, and spent a handful of years working at Colorado Medicaid, both as a data analyst and a budget analyst. And so kind of a lot of heavy SQL experience, and kind of made my way to Catalyst and working on some of the client operations and one of the product lines in the clinical improvement services team. And so kind of a background a little bit deeper on the clinical side and definitely fairly heavy on the SQL side.
Great. And so, those kind of skills are, something that we really value in having on the team. And I guess part of creating the team we have is trying to get a well-rounded set of skills. So, I would say, my background is in medical imaging and machine learning. So, I'm currently kind of the machine learning person on the team, although everybody knows machine learning to some extent. Taylor Miller is a pharmaceutical background and coming into machine learning, but he actually went the route of software engineering, so he has a lot of software skills. And I don't know, where would you say Levi is at He seems
Yeah.
like he has a mix of everything, kind of.
Yeah. A lot of Levi's skills are self-taught on kind of the software engineering side and on the machine learning side, just taken a huge interest and passion for it. And then obviously some major background in predictive modeling and then, doing all of the different management skills as well by leading our team. And so, he kind of has a well-rounded background across our Health Catalyst platform, as well as starting from scratch on our healthcare AI tool set.
Hmm. So we have this diverse set of skills on the team, and I guess what do we do with that? You know?
Yeah, so we kind of have to divide up the work accordingly, but also overlap wherever possible. But as a data science engineer, I'm kind of responsible more for some of the feature engineering, making sure that's scalable feature engineering, coming up with new features that could be consumed for our models, and then operationalizing a lot of the work. And so pushing that out to the data architects and the client sites, and then offering some domain expertise and um, kind of providing feedback on the product. So it's a little bit as kind of that product management role of providing feedback on functionality or testing for some errors and whatnot.
Great. So let's step back just a little bit. You know, we want to
Yeah.
make sure that this discussion kind of plays the lines of how things work specifically on our team, but also kind of more generally at a, because a lot of people are looking to go into data science, but not
Yeah.
necessarily data science at Health Catalyst, even though it's a great gig. Um, so I think data engineering is a fairly common field, and it kind of has to do with the manipulation and the input output of big data sets, right?
Yeah.
So Facebook has a huge data engineering team, and they're responsible for making sure that as all those comments are rolling in on posts, that they're being saved in a way that makes sense, and there's redundancy, so that they have that data stored if a single server was ever to go down.
Yeah.
And then the data scientists, are going to be the people who are building machine learning models, although that role is increasingly becoming titled machine learning engineer, which is a little interesting. But the data scientists are going to be doing things like pulling data in from tables and trying to learn things that are actionable business items from those. So basically, which users are the most profitable, or which patients are the sickest. And not only which patients are the sickest, but which patients do we have the most hope of intervening with, and answering those type of questions. And I think that those distinctions are fairly common across the industry. Although you definitely see a lot of people being hired as data engineers, and then doing machine learning, and vice versa, data scientists kind of playing with infrastructure type things. So it's a wide skill set, but you'll definitely specialize in one or the other. Um,
Yep,
that said,
for
you
sure.
can't have one without the other, right? So
Yeah, you're either doing both or you've got a team that can do
yeah.
all the above. We also find there's lots of overlap, and I imagine this would transfer across, just outside of Health Catalyst as well, but a lot of overlap on some of the soft skills between those two distinctions.
Mm. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, some of the communication skills, some of the training of other people,
Mm.
training of the customers on how to both use the product, but also how to help provide guidance on getting to more either interesting features or interesting insights and use cases.
Yeah, I guess that goes hand in hand with kind of delivering insights. You have to be able to actually do the delivery part.
Yeah,
It's much less frequently a head down it under your computer kind of role. So that's really interesting. Okay,
yeah.
so back to our team. We have this varied skill set. How do we divvy up that work? I guess Taylor's been working mostly on the machine learning models with clients that are clinically focused. And
Mhm.
as if you've been watching this show, you know that we healthcare AI has models in production in finance and operations and clinical use. And so we've given most of the clinical models to Taylor to kind of help with his background, and my background tends to lend itself well to the operations. So how many beds are in use, and what's going to be the length of stay. And Taylor Miller has been working on financial applications, not because he's has a background in finance, but because he's very capable of learning things quickly and kind of adapting. And plus, that's kind of where we needed him. So he's done
Yep.
well in that way. And then as far as that goes, I will say that we're not we want to kind of leverage the benefits of having me do 30 length of stay models because I learned something from each one, but that gets boring. So we also try and keep it fresh and build enough variety in that it's exciting.
Yeah, and we seem to do a good job of sitting in on each other's meetings and design reviews and whatnot wherever possible, so that we can apply some of those learnings across the board.
Mm-hmm. Great.
But yeah, I know kind of when you and I were chatting about kind of the way we think of how the jobs our team does or the type of work we do. We kind of broke it into thirds, separate from what you just mentioned on the client work, but building tools, building healthcare AI, and then
Mm-hmm.
also working with DAs, data architects to get the work done and improve processes, improving scalability, and then also we mentioned on outreach education and some of the work we do with the machine learning community. So I don't know if you want to touch on any of those.
Yeah, that'd be great. So, like you said, about a third of our time is spent, actually building the models with the data architects and the clients, and maybe it'll be an hour on a heart failure model here and an hour on a length of stay model there.
Yeah.
Answer an email about a bug that somebody had with trying to push out their propensity to pay. And so that kind of takes up a third of our time, and then actually building the tools so that we can do that in a scalable way. And that's what healthcare AI is. And so, we might be working on new features, new functionality. Taylor Miller is working on finishing up a huge release to the Python package, which we're going to definitely spend at least a broadcast kind of diving into and looking at the differences. We're adding new features to the R package, such as finding variation. Version 1.12 was released recently, and so that's a lot of fun to be in the code, and that's definitely my favorite part of the work. But then the last third is the outreach and the education. So kind of thinking about it from the lines of, does it make sense to answer this email of the same question yet again, or should I invest some time in making a video about it or writing a blog post on it and kind of helping scale that way. We try to do this show as a way to talk to the community, and the whole Slack group that is a part of that. So I think that's really interesting as well. How common is that to other industry or other data science teams, Taylor? What do you think?
I'm not sure. I don't know that it's quite as common. We've definitely kind of trying to democratize machine learning and get everyone involved kind of across the whole spectrum of skills. I feel like the outreach and some of the blogging that we do isn't as common in more of the industry side, but I think a lot of folks that are getting into machine learning now do come from academia, and writing up your findings and writing up new methods that you've uncovered. I think brings that blogging culture, maybe from a more formal format to this less formal format in a good way.
It is quite a bit easier to write a blog post than a peer-reviewed paper.
Yeah, though I know on my first blog post, you guys just kind of stamped it as this is a technical post, just because it was so dry and you guys didn't really want to edit it to add a little bit of voice to it. So.
Yeah. Well, you've come a long way. Great. So then, I guess, what are the tools we use? Is that where we're at now?
Yeah.
Okay. So what are the tools we use? I think our main ones are, we have tools that are for coding and getting work done. So, we use Python, we use R, we use SQL, and we use version control. And then we have a lot of tools that are only for productivity, and I would argue they're just as important.
Definitely.
And so those tools are things like Slack, which we love, and GitHub, which manages our version control. And then we also use Trello, which is a great way to look at tasks in an organized fashion. And what are the other ones? Was there another one on the list?
Yeah, we also use our intranet. So our I guess we call it Spark, but so yeah, we've got the GitHub board that organizes a lot of our tasks, the Trello board that we kind of manage some of our different model deployments
Mm-hmm.
and some of our client work on, and which has a ton of great functionality in it as well. And then that intranet for some of our internal documents, whether those be process maps or checklists or some of the internal communications that we need just to function as a cohesive team.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. What do you think? Is it worth all the time we've invested in learning those productivity tools?
Um, some of them had probably bigger learning curves than others, but like, Trello, we kind of started on that and took to it really quickly. And then also, I feel like we kind of have some champions of each of these different productivity tools. And so it's like Taylor Miller just, runs with some of the functionality, and all of a sudden he's got add-ins and extensions and APIs going off of some of these things that, kind of link everything together and make it all function in an even more user-friendly way than it already did.
And I can't say it's easy for new team members or people coming on, just because we just pile on the tools. But I think
Yeah,
that is quite common across the industry, and it's for good reason. They really
yeah,
help you keep things kind of out of the back of your mind and only compartmentalized over into the tool, so that when you need to look at it, it's right there and it's easy to digest.
yeah. And I'd say on our productivity tools, we went from, I feel like maybe six or seven, which included Google Sheets and all sorts of different places we were communicating and storing things, down to just a handful where we try and keep our communication limited to Slack wherever possible. Keep our documents in one spot, where I feel like we were kind of scattered. And so even though it's still a big lift for a new team member, it's
Hmm.
better than it could be.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess before we kind of leave the idea of day to day, we didn't talk about what the flow of an actual day looks like. How much time do you spend in meetings, Taylor?
I spend a fair amount of time in meetings. A lot of times that's helping enable other folks to keep their projects moving. So, while it doesn't feel like I have as much hands-on work during some of those meetings,
Hmm.
it's keeping things moving. Maybe at least a few hours a day of meetings, and then there's some time spent on the outreach. So I might have to set aside a chunk of time to work on a blog post or
Hmm.
plan for a broadcast, and then um, maybe a couple hours of heads down work, so
Yeah.
we've really got to make that time productive.
I think the meetings are a necessary evil, and you see that
Yeah.
everywhere, not just here. But I think your comment on heads down work is a really good one. You have to know exactly what you're going to accomplish during a time
Yeah.
slot, and just get right into it. And I felt like that keeps the job really fun, because it's stressful in a way, but it also kind of is, it's your every task you have, it's like, I have this time to accomplish this task, and I need to get as far along as I can. And in some cases that means getting a task done that's not to your quality standards, but done is better than good,
Yeah.
because you can always come back to it if whatever you've now finished should be improved.
Yeah. And how do you kind of chunk up some of your day as far as getting tasks done, whether that's pulling things off the board or
Mm.
organizing your time?
Well, I try and block off my mornings so that I get my head down work done in the morning, and then
Mhm.
schedule everything else for the rest of the day. And I have to say, right now I have a lot more head down work than I can accomplish in the morning. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to push off meetings as much as I can.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think that when you're faced with some of those types of time restraints, though, you end up prioritizing things and then also deciding, is that meeting really that important, or could we solve this with a quick Slack call that doesn't require a half hour, meeting time?
yeah, that's a great point. When does it make sense to answer an email versus just call someone?
Yep. Yep.
Or when does it make sense to go digging for information versus just asking the person who might know it?
Yeah.
Um, so, well, those are some great points, Taylor. Thanks for taking the time to talk through that. Let's go back to our poll and see if we got any responses. Hey, we got a response. I'll show the results. Uh, let's see, where is it? Yep, there we are. We had 100% of people said it was too easy, which makes sense, because it was quite easy. The answer was in the example. So I think we still had a kind of overwhelming enthusiasm for the polls, and we'll publish another homework assignment, hopefully with more lead time to talk about at the next broadcast. We have another poll question here, which is, have you used any of these tools before? And we'd encourage you to select as many as you'd like. Again, it's at pollev.com/healthcare.ai. You can respond to the question there.
Yeah, and after you've responded to the poll question or in the coming week, if you have other ideas of how your team organizes your work or some productivity, hacks that you do, feel free to throw those into the Slack channel for everyone, including us. We'll definitely, are always looking to improve.
Taylor, have you been watching the chat? I haven't been able to follow it today.
I haven't been able to watch the chat. I apologize.
Yeah, we didn't really come up with it, but glad to see you all participating here. Oh, the poll is full. Look at that. So let's show those results here. We have a lot of people using Python, a lot of people using Git and GitHub. That's interesting to see that only a few people are using R. I wonder, maybe we should start doing some of these broadcasts centering around Python. I know I'm really excited to get back into Python now that the refactor is done. So maybe we can start pushing that out. There we are. I guess I have to lock the poll. I'm new to this whole thing, hosting polls. But Taylor, do you have anything else for the week before we sign off?
No, I think that's a good point. That was interesting on the polls. We'll take consideration of all that. And yeah, keep in mind the Slack channel is open all week, whether you're working on directly from the package or just have some general questions you want to chat with the community about.
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for joining us today. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, comment below, and click the links below to join our Slack channel and our Healthcare AI community.